I'll begin straight away by introducing my ESC starting grant project, The Value of Mothers to Society, that ran between 2016 and 2021. The idea was to investigate social responses to pregnancy, birth, and early childbearing in prehistoric societies, and to relate the social to the reproductive status of prehistoric women. And taking motherhood as a separate and identity category distinct from gender, I wanted to know if and how women's social status changed as they became mothers, and how motherhood was conceptualized in the past. And taking a long-term history approach, we aim to analyze changes in family structures and gender relations from the Neolithic to the early Iron Ages in Central Europe, aiming to develop an innovative bundle of methodologies to better understand motherhood. One of the leading themes was that women in the past are often imagined to go through exactly the same stages in life, from baby to girl, from mother to grandmother. And there's little differentiation between all the different kinds of lives women might have led. That the transition to motherhood is taken as a natural, normal, and inevitable process, although it's also one of the most significant changes in identity a woman might experience. But the problem is always, how do we really identify mothers? So one of the strands of research was dedicated to working on the skeletal pelvis to identify and understand the factors that contribute to pelvic shape changes and bone reactions. So our group has published a number of papers describing and associating pelvic features with pregnancy and parturition. You can surely look them all up on our webpage. And so in short, there are age-dependent changes as women mature, and a general tendency of accumulated changes with the number of pregnancies and births. But it's very difficult to extract simple and smaller causal relationships. And the best indicator we found so far was pubic pitting. We worked primarily on early Bronze Age cemeteries from Austria and have published case studies, Unterhautzental and Schleimbach, in detail to exemplify our approach. And we also found that in the early Bronze Age, social status does not seem to correlate with physical changes through motherhood. There is not really a difference between poor and rich individuals, and there doesn't appear to be a strong selection for motherhood. In the Iron Age, the iconographic difference suggests a differentiation between people whose reproductive potential was emphasized and persons depicted without sexual features. And the age of motherhood seemed generally higher than in the Bronze Age. In order to understand if the sex of children played a role in how they were treated, we adopted the new method of sex determination based on sex-specific peptides in dental enamel. And we were able to clarify the sex of a murdered Bronze Age child, for example, and compared gendered burial practices to the sex of children in a recent paper in the Journal of Archaeological Science. We did some work testing the genetic relationship between co-buried people, for instance, in this quite touching case of a potential sibling pair. But we also found that a woman buried with two children that were not her biological ones. So kinship is definitely much more than biological relatedness, and we are expanding the work on ancient DNA now to discover more about the logic of family relations in the past. So finally, we investigated breastfeeding, weaning, and childhood diet through residue analysis of feeding vessels, isotopes, and dental abrasion studies. Yes, so for me, it's of course quite hard to sum up 5 years of research in 5 minutes. We generated a whole lot of data, gained quite interesting insights, but there's also a lot of unfinished business that will keep us occupied for the near future. And of course, this wouldn't have been possible without a great team and a supportive host institution and many collaborators. So also thank you to everyone involved.